planning on kind of ad-libbing it. I don't really have a script, but I have a way I play the game, and I'm going to actually walk through that. This will include killing the dancer a little early, not right away. If you know what that means, great. If you don't, I'll explain it. Don't stress. Also, you can play through this game in just about any method you choose. It doesn't matter. It's fine. People tell you their preferred ways, I will too, but there's nothing impossible. I will say you are making it harder on yourself if you choose to go with a miracle build, or if you choose to generally spellcast, because there's a lot more to getting a strong character with those methods of play before you're strong. I know that was repetitive, doesn't matter. Point is, you really want to kind of focus on melee to get better at the combat. If you're doing casting, you're probably going to be struggling quite a bit at some places and blowing through others because of your ranged attacks giving you an advantage, but there's places where it won't, and that's when you'll just cripple yourself by not practicing the combat. So my recommendation is to play Dark Souls melee at least to start, and that's how I'll play today. But again, I want to emphasize, this is a matter of choice. We're going to just clear rush, that's fine.
Yes.
Alright, and this will be full of spoilers. I'm going to explain just about everything I come across as best I can, as quick as I can. So, this will be Fast Man. Guider. No guide, it's fine. Appearance. I've got weird favorites just for fun. We will go with my original. This is the first character I saved, so why not? We're going to change his base skin color to be as ghostly as possible. Perfect. And then build will be just very slim for fun. It'll be ironic. Your burial gift. And this is for first-time players. There are several things you can do. The life ring is really nice for getting more health, but if you're practicing playing through the game, you'll actually unlock the ability to purchase it before too long. Divine Blessing, nigh useless. It seems great, but you'll use it once, it's gone. Same with Hidden Blessing for magic. Black Fire Bombs can be a nice little boost early on to damage, but there are lots of ways to do that, so, and lots of ways you can find fire bombs. It's just, I don't recommend it. This can be pretty neat if you want to power a weapon up early, but I think you need, I forget what you need to use a fire gem. I'm not going to go into the details of every build, so I'm not going to go into that, but it could be interesting. I don't say it's great, though. This just gives you some extra souls. Can be nice for an early level, but I find it's pointless. You'll find these help you find items. That's not going to matter till later in the game anyways. This lets you invade. If you want to do a really quick early invasion as soon as you get to the high wall, you could grab this, but there's lots of ways to get that too, and eventually a permanent red eye orb. And this young white branch. Looks like any other in the game that you'll find that gives you camouflage, but this one is special. Perhaps an offering of peace, it says. We're going to use that so I can show you what it does, even though I will show you very briefly how to get it in the game normal. Class, we're going to go with warrior because I'm all strength. And age, he's going to be an old man. Nothing else matters. That's what he looks like. Super skinny guy. We're not going to go into even one character quest, by the way. If you're looking for that in this walkthrough, I'm sorry. The point of this walkthrough is to help new players kind of get through the game, and maybe in a different way than they would expect they'd be able to by going through the dancer. I have some recommendations for how to make her easier, though, to be honest, she's going to be challenging to any new player no matter what you do. So, go through here, grab that Estus flask. That's going to be important, even if you don't use magic. There's an easy early game battle here. And when I say easy, I mean compared to later stuff. If you're just starting out, this monster can cripple you. So I'm going to just kind of briefly explain what he is, and get a few extra souls if I don't totally blow it in some way. So this is the Crystal Lizard. The first time he rolls at you, he'll stop short. That's to prevent him from just wiping out new players. You can block if you have a good shield. This shield's mediocre at blocking. And I'm just kind of showing you what his moves are by staying really close. If he does the lean back, you want to back up. If he does this move, you want to roll forward or get behind him. If he does that, where he staggers, you can get in front of him, stop moving, don't push any direction, and push left or, well, your right trigger. Your right bumper, rather. Ah, there's his crystal attack. There's his roll attack. Again, whenever he leans up, you generally want to get away from in front of him. And it is possible to be hit by those crystal things you keep seeing come at. So, oh. I should probably stop explaining and finish him off. That big swipe is what gets a lot of people. Again, you can tuck in real close to him and get behind him if you're really close already. This is all about learning roll timings and everything else. He gives a very nice early souls boost. Better than, I believe, if I'm right, the soul you could get as a starting gift. And he also gives you a Titanite scale, which is used to level up boss weapons. They're very rare. They're dropped in a few chests, more chests later on. But they're also only early on dropped by the Crystal Lizards. That said, boss souls give you very special weapons that you usually have to design around to some extent. Here's your first bonfire. Rest here if you feel the need to. Don't be afraid to rest up because it will restore your Estus. It will respawn enemies, but that's not a huge deal, especially if you're practicing early on. You should be fighting everything. This is a Titanite Shard. You'll use those for weapon upgrades. I'm going to show you an easy path to level up the weapon that I'm going to choose to level, so that you can see the kinds of things you can do. Now you'll notice I sidestepped his bolt. Many of the things in this game can be readily sidestepped instead of just blocked or dodge rolled. It can be useful at times. It's also risky if you don't know what you're doing or when. I tend to dodge more than anything else, but I plan timing. Now Gundy here's the first boss. He's the tutorial boss. I want to learn the game boss. He'll crush you if you're not used to a Souls game, unless you're very adaptable. When he gets to about half HP, he'll turn to this thing. Oh, and I failed to dodge it. That was embarrassing. This is actually a great example of how punishing the game can be if you're doing things wrong. So, not what I was trying to do. I was trying to be all classy, but basically he's still flinging his weapon around despite the big guy on top. It just gives him some extra maneuverability more than anything else. You can parry his melee attacks. Have never tried when he has the monster. You can... I can't even focus right now. You can dodge around almost every one of his attacks fairly easy with a little practice. But, and this is important, he's really weak to fire bombs. And if you explore the first area a bit, you can get a couple. Now they're one-time use, but if you want to beat him real fast and easy, you can wait till he goes into the second phase, and he's crippled by fire at that point. So, phase 2, beast, fire bombs. You can get it from the starting gift or the starting area. Black fire bombs are always stronger, and you'll learn that. For the sake of this walkthrough, I am not going to fight him because it takes either a little time or more timing than I have with the shield here to push him off the edge. I will quickly show you this guy here. He has an Uchikatana. It's a fantastic agility weapon. I prefer using it over the twin swords, even though they're way stronger in the end. If you hold down your dual wield button, you'll dual wield your offhand, and a shield gives a thrust. You can push him off one of these ledges if you time it right, but it's hard. He hits very hard. You can also, of course, fight him normally. or wait till way later in the game. But if you want your katana early, and it's a very cool katana, you got to kill him there. Now the first thing I do here, and this is another little secret that's not really a secret anymore, most of the things I'll talk about are of that nature, extra soul, is that you're not supposed to be able to get to this roof till later. At least you're not supposed to, but again, the developer put this tree here, and with a perfect jump you can get right on this roof. Now that I'm actually recording a guide, I'm going to blow it more than just a couple times. Speedrunners will do this in one shot more often than not. There you go. So you just got to run straight up the tree and then take a hard right, and you can get up there. Homeward bones are useful for teleporting back. If you find yourself in a tight spot or really far from a bonfire and want to head back, you can use those. This is the easiest, the quickest you can access a nest for trading, but that's another secret in the game I'm not going into. But this is where you find your first Estus Shard if you choose to use that shortcut. You won't get it till much later if you choose to do it the normal way, which I will get to. That's an illusory wall, and if you walk all the way to the end, there's a chest here. Don't worry, it's safe to open. With the silver ring, which gives you an extra souls boost. Really useful for new players and veterans alike for fast leveling. Now, if you're doing what I'm suggesting, you're going to use minimal weapon arts, which use magic power, FP, focus points. You're also going to not be using spells. So if you go to a lot Estus, you can take that ashen flask you got earlier and make it a healing flask. You can always switch that back and forth. I also got that Estus Shard, I can use it. I now have 5 healing flasks, which is really convenient. We'll be back to him later. Couple quick notes on leveling. Very quick notes. For my path today, am going to take a few different specific routes. When you go to fight the dancer early, and especially if you're newer at the game, you're going to have less health. That's just a given. Or you're going to have a lot of health and no attack, which means you'll have to survive for a lot longer, but you'll have more health to do so. I always recommend roughly 20 to 30 vigor, depending on your skill and ability, to make it a little easier on yourself. And if you can, the life and Estus rings, which I will show the location of later. In the meantime, I recommend working on your build a bit towards your main weapon. I prefer sharp, aka agility weapons, or heavy, aka strength weapons. And today we're going to do a strength weapon. But the one I want to one-hand requires at least 10 dexterity, so I'm going to put 1 point there. Just pump the rest into strength for the moment. My goal is 40 strength for the soft cap, but dual wielding, 60 strength will get you. 66 strength will get you the maximum possible damage from heavy infusions. Again, something I will go into when it's relevant. So put the sword in here that you got from the first boss. We'll get to burning undead bone shards later and travel to the high wall. Now in this next part I'm going to be going through some basic advice, and this is where the tutorial will kind of take shape and see if it's worth uploading, if I'm being honest. And we'll go from there. Go into the high wall, open the door, and you'll have 2 paths right off the bat. There'll be a path to the right, and a path to the left in a bonfire. The path to the right leads to a dead end at this time, and later a shortcut entrance. The path to the left is progress. You can run over here and grab this. Just be aware that you're going to likely trigger this guy here. Not all the time, but most of the time. When you see this guy with the lamp here, hit him as fast as possible to prevent him from waking up that guy and that guy with his lamp. Similar thing here. This guy will wake up all of these guys you see just kind of lying around if you let him talk. Up there's a set of binoculars, which can be useful for spellcasting and investigating the distant things, of course. The spellcasting use I'll leave you to look up. But here we got gold pine resin. That'll make the first boss much easier. Now, the first boss has a caveat I'll get into. but we'll worry about that later. We're running up to another choice. Yes, there was a guy behind me, but he stays there till you get close to him. So, depending on your playstyle, you'll learn to fight things with sword and shield. If you're doing shield, that's fine. You can block things like this, and then you could hit him real hard. Or you can just roll around behind him and hit him in the back. I missed a backstab opportunity there, that's kind of embarrassing. You can also kick shield holders to make their shield fly up. Gonna give you a little bit of advice here. If you go up the stairs, you trigger a dragon. I will in a second. If you get these guys to come down and stand on the wooden planks in the right spot, the dragon will breathe fire down this aisle and kill all of them for you. And then you can run past the fire once he's done. Alternatively, you can run up here and run past everything and let him breathe fire on all these guys. Some might follow you. Again, I recommend killing some things to practice, especially backstabs and things. There are embers and things in front of him and a weapon down at the end. Below, there is a chest. You can just drop down and climb the ladder. That is a mimic. Do not just open it. You can choose to grab the dark axe from it if you want a little bit of extra damage boost, but I just don't consider it worth the time. The first real threat here. If you swing at him while he's doing things, you can find he is not very strong, but he will feel he is strong, because if he hits you, he hits very hard. You'll need to practice to fight the knights, I'll be honest. I've seen myself and other people get destroyed by them so early on. Dodging them is a trick. Blocking them at the right time so you don't just wear your stamina is a trick. And if they hit you, they hit really hard. Now you saw me trigger that guy, he always leaps out. Now again, I'm doing my own version of this where I'm running past most enemies. I suggest you explore. I really do. Because if you're not practicing and not exploring, you're not finding all the items and the neat parts of the game. This is mostly a progress guide on an alternate path. And assuming you have the DLC. Didn't mention that yet. I should have mentioned it earlier. Now I respond nothing because I didn't rest at that bonfire. Did I? I don't think I did. But I did, because I didn't rest, leave it open for this guy to follow if he'd seen me. By leaping down and going through that door, though, I didn't go through the rest of the tower, and I quickly got through this door and exit. Now, if you go onto this area up here, and I didn't on purpose, you trigger this guy. You can just hit him and knock him off. Now, there are fire bombs in that spot, but the guy in the middle turns into a black beast. The pus of man. Gonna try to stay far away from him, but just know that he's very dangerous if you don't kill him right away or get off the roof. There's another archer down the way. I always dodge him. And there's some more black fire bombs for you. Gathering these, at least a few of these, is extremely useful later at a very specific point in the game. Here's another lamp guy. Kill him. Dodge the archer. Kill the guy that's hiding and wait for you. Grab these undead charms, also useful later in certain situations. Kill this guy, and kill this guy. Because up here is another Titanite shard. I think I've grabbed a couple without mentioning it, but I'm kind of pointing out where I'm grabbing things by just doing it, so I'm not going to mention all of them. Now, I always have worse luck with spear knights. You can bait them by doing that. Now, I'm low on stamina. Getting used to the combat is essential. And I hate spear knights. The giant shield's the worst part. Now, you see how I often roll to the right? His weapon's on the left. That's an obvious thing. And I recommend you take advantage of that. Dun, 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 dun. Hello. Oops. There we go. There are some items over there if you roll through that garbage, and then you can drop down onto a ledge over there for more stuff that I don't need for what I'm doing. Come around here. This is an item of note. We're going to take it. This is a Silver Eagle Kite Shield. Its biggest advantage, if you have a least 11 strength, is it's 100% physical absorption, which means using this, regular melee attacks will not hurt me. Now the other reason to come over here is you got to kill this guy. If you don't, he throws fire bombs, not bams, from you there, and there's a lot of explosive barrels below, which make that very dangerous. The dog is weak to firebombs, so you can actually take advantage of that if you are given the opportunity. Now I'm risking a lot here by fighting a dog and this guy. Until you're good at combat, you'll want to really, really, really try to pull one thing at a time. Hey you, I'm just stealing your item. Oh, you cared. That is another Estus Shard, obviously very valuable. I'm going to show you where all of them are, and every bone shard. So that you have all the advantages you possibly can. Another Titanite Shard is in there. Really hidden ones I will kind of point out. There's a big knight below here. And there's a guy that'll come to life right there. So you'll want to do that. There's a rapier here if you're interested. He dropped a Titanite Shard that does not normally drop there. I'm not going to fight him now, because again that's combat practice, but he's useless to me in this playthrough. And as you saw, I could sneak right past him. I don't like this archer firing at me while I do the next parts I do, so I go out of my way to kill these two guys. It's not necessary. But I actually can quickly show you. If you come up here, over there, if you make the jump, is a ring of sacrifice, which lets you save your souls if you die. Oh, he dropped something. More firebombs. Always welcome. Ring of sacrifice keeps you from dropping your souls if you die. If you are already dead, it keeps you from dropping more souls. Now, you need to get past these guys. You can either dodge roll past them, try to fight them one at a time, try to fight them both at once, or go up this path after you've waited a second so that you're only fighting the one knight. Now, if you block like this, see, that was very, very dangerous because he broke my stamina. Oh. And he dropped an extra Titanite Shard. I'm going to keep showing you, because I'm not counting on drops, where to get enough shards to do what we're going to be doing in my playthrough, which is basically leveling up a weapon with regular Titanite to max very quickly. Now, if you kill her, the dancer triggers. We're going to do that later, but for now, I just recommend talking to her and getting both of her items. One of them is needed for progression, one isn't. So, now that you have all that, you're ready to fight the first boss. Again, this is kind of a going for it playthrough, but I really want to emphasize one thing about the shortcut to this area. You can either go to the top of the tower and always do the run past the big winged knight, or you can take the alternate path up there, past the door, past where I showed you the ring, and there's an elevator shortcut in another spot. Shortcuts are extremely important in Dark Souls. Never forget that. Now, this is a good spot to reconfigure your inventory if you haven't already, to whatever you want. I always put a homeward bone there, an ember there if I have one, because that'll heal you and give you big health if you don't. After that, it's whatever I'm using. Could be firebombs, could be anything, but for now, I'm going to use the gold pine resin to make this boss much easier. You may die to this boss and be unable to use the gold pine resin due to repeat dying. Do not worry if that happens to you. You got to practice. And I'm going to show you a part of where the fight can diverge. For now, though, stay right under him. And for the most part, except for my stupid lean to the side, you won't get hit. Just get behind him, roll behind him. Don't let him do that to you. You can see I can pretty much chill under here as long as I want. Now here's where the fight diverges. If he glitches out with his health, he'll jump straight into the wrong part of the phase, like he just did, where he goes into his crazy mode. If I were luckier, or better, he would have, woo. Right now his whole body is a hitbox. He becomes more dangerous. It's possible to kill him before he becomes dangerous if he does 2 charges. If he does 2 charges at you, he'll basically do a big breath move and give you a ton of time to get behind him and do a lot of extra damage. But you gotta dodge roll the charges. It's really all I can give for advice on Vort. He's just not a tricky fight. He will be hard for you if you're not good at the game. And that's fine. Because again, learning how and when to maneuver in combat and the enemies themselves is part of the experience. Now, you can absolutely skip what I'm about to do, except I'll show you where it becomes useful later if you want an easy way to defeat another boss. Now, if you've got dogs chasing you and you manage to block their charge attack, they will always bounce back and give you an easy opportunity to kill them. Now here's an interesting part, little tips and tricks that I've learned over time, is not to waste your time with the dogs if you can help it. If you let them wander out, they start doing a script where they start trying to focus on attacking mostly the undead in the area. I got 1 dog on me, that's not a big deal. Basically, I went and immediately closed the gate so that the other dogs couldn't get to me. And now I'm free to get some distance between him and, the dog, and then kill him freely. Multiple dogs are always bad, so especially if you're not good at dodging yet. Now there's 2 guys here. I know that you only see the one first, but the one with the long spear is much more dangerous. Now, little tip for him. The fastest thing you can do is roll into him, and he can't compensate for it. It will stun him. Always roll into him. Also something important, that small leather shield. That small leather shield has more parry ability than most things. There is an exception, of course there is. And then there's a guy hidden up there. The item on that corpse is important if you're doing a particular quest chain. I am not doing that quest chain. If you are brave and gutsy, you can run all the way up to the big lady in the middle and grab the item she's protecting. I've done it many times. I'm going to show you my recommended method for clearing these guys. If they charge you, roll back. Don't mess with it. And I don't know what weapon you'll be using, so you can't always rely on the double hits like I am getting right there. Some extra souls back here. But if you kill those guys like that, you'll notice nothing else is triggered. This guy will if I get a little closer. And then you can... Oh, well that was embarrassing. And then you can get close to these guys and start doing what you need to. This is the only other guy who will trigger by himself. That will trigger her, though. She's dangerous for a couple reasons. You're going to want to learn her abilities. If she uses this one, back way up, let her do what she does, try to sneak behind her and get in a free backstab. Fire is your friend if she's using it. She'll do that book, which is a very fast melee attack. She can double swing that large mace. It is very dangerous because it adds bleed and it hits very hard. So, she's dead. Oh, no items. Sad face. Now I'm just going to run past the rest of them because you can work out how to clear them out if you need to. Guy down here, you can drop, kill him. I recommend killing that and grabbing this Titanite Shard. And if you can do it, I recommend running past these guys. They would ambush you if you came from the other path down here. Oh, come on. There you go. That's just an extra soul, but I always grab it. The thing on the right is an enemy, but if you go right here, you don't trigger it. Don't be afraid to kill it, though. I mean, it's not actually that dangerous if you're paying attention. Now, I'm again going to run past a lot of things, but I'm going to give some very basic advice. So, these guys... Oh, that's perfect. See, that charging attack that the little guys do makes them extremely dangerous. You always want to shield against it if possible. When they deflect back, you can take advantage of it. Right now, I'm just going in a little secret shortcut to the right, and I'm going to outpace that guy. He's not going to be able to follow me. Push on the left as you go here so you don't fall off the cliff, and grab an extra Titanite Shard. There'll be a big hammer brother here. Now, I'm not going to use this item in this playthrough, but I'm going to show you how to get it. If you go here and rush this lizard down, you'll be invaded by this guy if you're embered. But he drops a sharp gem, which is important if you're going the Dex sharp gem agility route. Now, as a mad spirit, I think that's the reason. You can just rest at this bonfire to despawn him, but every time you run past him, he will respawn until you trigger a boss fight, kill him, or completely leave the area, of course. Feel free to fight that guy. Note he does bleed. Also note all the arrows. Yes, they're arrows. Spearing guys here. If you have not obtained, if you've not chosen the white branch as your starting gift, those arrows will be fired at you. There is a way to make friends with the guy anyways. I see I have a friend in chat, but I'm going to stick to the walkthrough talking right now. Up in that tower there is a giant shooting arrows. I'll show you how you get up to him, but I won't actually go up to him. But you'll see that he just keeps shooting these things, and you can get young white branches here, but they're different than the one that you get from him if you go to him, and they're different than the one that you get from the starting gift. Both of those white branches allow you to just walk freely through this area. He's your friend already. There's a set of armor over there you can grab if you want. I grab the ashes because they increase what the vendor sells at the start of the game. I didn't mention it, but that little island I looked to has a very important little tidbit. It has a bone shard, and the bone shard is very powerful for if I could think for 3 seconds. The bone shard is very powerful because it levels up how much your Estus heals. There is a boss behind me. I'm going to kill it later when he's stupid easy because of my path, my chosen path. But if you go just a little bit into the boss room, it'll despawn the Mad Knight because he's a, he's an invader. Invaders go away if you enter a boss room. I always go up and grab this bonfire just in case, and also for quick access to this boss when I do want to go kill it, because I never do a playthrough and leave a boss. Ever. There are guys that throw fire bombs at you from above, and this guy with the big pot. The fire bombs are very dangerous because of all the barrels around here. So, ow. If you go under this bridge, though, there's a bonfire. Now, there was a bridge way back at the big, large priest lady with the huge mace and the book, and that would have led you to this path where you could have dropped down from the other side. That's the normal way to get here if you don't want to risk running past the arrows. Now, if you don't get them bugged out on the bridge, a bunch of people would have patrolled way up there and stay up there for the most part. But a dog goes in here. The dog can be dangerous. If you go down there, there's some enemies and a secret door to the sewer you need a key for that lets you into the underbridge area. If you go just far enough to grab that ember, you'll trigger this guy. And I'm going to absolutely show you how to cheese these two enemies. If I can do it in one try, because I'm not backtracking on this playthrough. The idea is to do it all in one go. So if I go just far enough to get them to start patrolling towards me, and back up a bit, and wait till he's just over that rock and run forward, and then dodge his pot if he gets it over the bridge, he falls off the cliff. If I then go this way, let that guy patrol a bit, get up to the bridge, and then run at him, he falls. And then you don't have to fight either of them or worry about them chasing you. You can just run past them and successfully do so without even engaging them. I find it's more fun to do the cheese. So, if you go up here, open the door, this is the Tower of the Giant. You'll see the elevator go up as Sigurd comes out. It's a twin elevator. If you were to trigger the elevator here, where Sigurd comes out, roll off of it and go up, you get to the giant and to a secret area with a mini-boss, a stamina ring, and some other extremely powerful goodies, and you continue his quest line. I'm only mentioning that so you know why I'm not going up there. I don't have the need for the stamina ring with this playthrough for this character. It's very useful, don't mistake me. And then I also don't need the mini-boss or his quest line for this playthrough. This next area has a very dangerous enemy. I grab this ember, he'll charge, but if you just run past him, you can open the door. You're always invincible while opening doors. And then just dodge roll in case he's attacking. And there's a bonfire right here. He cannot follow you outside. If you want to kill him, he is, I think, an okay number of souls, and he drops that sword. I'm going to just fight him, and I'll either run away or kill him real easy. Now, learning to dodge these attacks, I'm still not great at. You can shield a lot of things that I'm choosing not to. Ooh, that was a bad set of rolling. Never panic roll like that. You're just asking to die. He is a mini Vort. I just want to see how many souls he drops for the sake of this walkthrough for you guys. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be bothering. You see, he's also adding frost damage, which is one thing that makes blocking a little less useful against him, because that'll hit no matter what. Got him. A little bit risky. Decent number of souls. I think that was almost 2,000, something like that. Now, one other thing you do not see me doing is constantly going back to spend my souls. Feel free to. I hate it when people say, oh, you should just push on and all that. Run past this guy. He's not worth it unless you're exploring. For this playthrough, I'm running past him. I guess you should explore. Now, I recommend hitting this guy at least once so he doesn't alert all the other raven things in the area. Make them all grow rings and become rings. Make them all grow wings and become more dangerous faster. Now I walk up to this guy until the last second, then run, so that I don't waste my stamina, because I don't have much of that either with the style I'm going for. I really have to manage my stamina with this particular style and method of play. But you can run past them. 2 more quest NPCs to your left. And get another bonfire. I'm resting to make sure I spawn here. I always forget if you can just spawn there or if you have to port there, and I'm trying to save trouble and time. Those guys are very dangerous. I'm going to pass them for now. I say very dangerous. They're, as you saw, not much health and pretty easy to kill, but I don't need them. So I went and grabbed that shard hidden there. There's another shard and a trap right here. If you fall in them like that, you won't get the drop attack, but you do have the opportunity to, what you call it? Now, there's two guys up there if you took the left path. You take the right path, obviously you trigger the dog, but there's a bonfire right here. Oh yeah, he didn't stutter. Okay, there we go. The dog doesn't seem to care about me, that's just dumb luck. You want to avoid the swamp to this side quite a bit. The shield right there gives you stamina, great for a dex build or a strength build, but it is weight that you won't need if you're doing what I'm doing. The giant crabs require a special kind of finesse to kill easily. Now before the next part, and that bonfire is very important for getting to a boss a little later, but before the next part I always go here, grab that soul and trigger this guy. I then kill this guy, so that he doesn't bother me anymore. The big trick to him is a lot of his moves are big hitting attacks, a command grab, which is the worst, like that. If you ever get command grabbed, it doesn't hurt to rapidly tap the bumpers, because the bumpers can get you out of command grabs that aren't forced forever, or a little early. The Ember's not why I kill him. There's guys that'll ambush you from above, so run in quick and grab this, and then dodge back out. That's an Estus Shard. Yet another. Running back here. And I'm just incoherently rambling a lot of this, I know. I hope it's useful to you, though, to kind of give you an idea of how quickly you can progress through the game. I haven't fought a boss since Vort, and I'm not going to fight one for a little bit longer. Now, the moment I jump down, the crab will trigger. But I do want to jump down, and I want to run right across to there. If you want to give yourself a little more time from the crab, you can run around the trees. There's a cool set of armor here. Grab fast if you're dodging the crab. He will not follow you up here. Now if you're embered, and you go too far to the right, you trigger an NPC invader, which I do not want to do. There's two guys here. It is possible to throw something at this guy from about here, and trigger him by himself, or you can try fighting them both at once. They are a blast to fight. I will not be doing that this playthrough. This is all about quick running through and basic advice for getting through the game, so rather than a long engaged fight with these two very cool guys, which drop two very excellent weapons, mind you. The mace this guy's holding is one of my favorite. You trigger them to fight you, run up here, and just get on the ladder. Don't move. You can die doing this. Don't make any mistake about that. But what will usually happen is they'll eventually come back. And they'll try to hit you. And they'll fall to your death long before they manage to kill you. There's one. Oh, he's scary. And there's two. They can knock you off this ladder by either hitting you or jumping on you. So be aware of that. But there's a great club. There's an Exile Greatsword. And I can tell I'm blowing my friend away with my ridiculous knowledge of the game. Now I'm resting at this bonfire because I'll be porting back to it. This is the part where I get my favorite weapon in the game. It's definitely not everyone's favorite. So I'm detouring only for my weapon for this playthrough. Usually you'll head to the right up there, and I'm going to show you a very specific way to do so. Because minimizing your time running super slow and being poisoned in the swamp is what everyone prefers to do, for very good reason. Now, if you haven't collected a homeward bone or two along your playthrough, and you're actually exploring, I'd be really surprised. It's possible. And if so, you may want to actually purchase a few to make some of these parts easier. I'm walking to try to avoid triggering these guys. I often end up triggering one anyways, but if I just go up here slowly and casually, sometimes they don't notice me. I think I did trigger one. Yep. Hey, back off. Now I'm walking slowly because I just want to avoid triggering extras. The grooves are dangerous. Those are the least dangerous type. And that was lucky positioning. Always take advantage of positioning. So now I'm going to head straight back out this way. I'm going to follow a very particular path to not trigger the Elder Grue. You can see all the warning things here trying to tell you, hey, there's dangerous swamp here. You see the Elder Grue behind. They have some very devastating attacks. And you can see the one right there. There are things in the game that trigger sometimes when you're observing them. I may have already observed him too much, but if you just walk around this tree, no, you can't go to the right, it'll get you stuck. And walk up here, and up here, then you can safely look at him. If you look at him or walk a little too close to him, he triggers. Which is not a giant deal, I'm being honest about it. But we can now homeward bone to the bonfire last rested at. You need 3 of those fires to progress the game. So that's 1. This is my experience the fastest way through the swamp while also getting a couple Titanite shards. And I'm going to equip my weapon here in a moment that I really like. Now, if you're poisoned, don't stress it too much. It doesn't do a lot of extra damage. There's another Titanite shard. And let's quickly equip my weapon. So, this requires 28 strength. I believe I have 22 strength. That's for one-handing. For two-handing, I can wield it effectively. That's important to note, because while two-handing, I'll have over 28 strength. While two-handing any weapon, your strength is 1.5 times its normal value, which is more than 28 for me. But you'll see a couple things. One, I am wildly heavy now. You can see my weight ratio is 94.5. Dropping the shield. Oh, my armor's too heavy. Well, we're going to have to cut it back a little bit. That's super light. That's even lighter. That's heavier. And that's heavier. So I didn't get any extra armor. That can be bad for this build. But I'm going to risk the extra damage you take, and you will take extra damage if you're not wearing a piece of armor. I'll replace it soonish. Now this actually has a decent block value for a sword because of its nature, and incredible range. Oh man, nice hit. Yeah, he does a lot of damage to me when I'm doing it this way. Come on. Alright. And here's fire number 2. Dun 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 dun. Now again, following a very particular path, you'll get all this stuff really easy. You do not want to mess with that Grue there. He is the worst. The worst. I still hate fighting them. If you do this carefully and grab this, you can probably not trigger any more of those guys. It doesn't sound like I did, and I am using sound. Definitely not. Now, if you do not have enough Titanite shards, you can grab this one. You risk that Grue every time. I think looking at him too long will trigger him if you do, and then he'll grab you. But I have 14 shards. I got 2 extra from drops. There is 1 or 2 I skipped as well for simplicity. And there's the 3rd flame. Now, what you do here is either fight them because you're practicing, which can be tricky, or sprint past all of them, go to this bonfire, and for reasons unbeknownst to me, If you light this bonfire, you can rest at it even while in combat with those guys. And then they reset. No more worries. Keep going here. And in there is a bone shard. You can try to clear it, or you can try to do what I'm doing, and rush in and quickly rush out. We want to go up this ladder. If you get hurt a little bit getting up here, it's really not that bad, because getting hurt going up this particular ladder is, there's a bonfire at the top. What can I say? There are several important things up here, and my first real risk of dying. Usually I would risk it quite a bit for the sake of, I think that, let's just see what he drops for your walkthrough, in case he's useful to you. Twinkling Titanite. Certain special weapons use Twinkling Titanite instead of the Titanite scales or shards I've been gathering. So, normally I would go up here and fight everything before I hearth. But I want to hit a little harder before I fight what's up here to make it easier for the walkthrough. And you'll probably do that anyways. Recommended, to be honest. You'll find more people at your shrine occasionally. Talk to them. It's fine. There's a lot of quest things you can do. So I'm doing a few things. First, I'm reinforcing my Estus flask a lot because I got, I think, multiple shards and haven't reinforced it once since the beginning of the game. Good. I'm going to reinforce my weapon. I should have at least the 12 Titanite shards needed to reinforce it to +3. Additionally, I'm going to quickly see if the handmaiden sells some. You give her ash to increase her wares. And I think she has some light armor somewhere. This is 8.8. What is the one? What's the one I had? Wait a minute. No, I'm getting lost. Not much lighter, but a little lighter. I'll keep going the risky route until I find some better armor for this. But let's level up at her. Again, for this I'm pouring so much into my strength. I could pour some into vitality right now to increase my equip load. But basically I'm going to put those in. You'll see I'm just shy of the souls. I need 2601. And while I'm going to sell like a lot of souls later, right now I'm just going to sell enough to get where I need for the moment. So 200 soul is enough. A lot of people use those to get just their in-between levels, and that's actually recommended. I now have 28 strength. That's perfect, because now I can one-hand it, which is great for quick side slashes. Knowing your weapon moves is extremely valuable. I also have no souls to risk now. Burn the undead bone shards. If you've been following my guide, you should have, I think, 2. Yep. And if we go back to the old wolf, I'll quickly show you how much we have. My screen is pretty clear of clutter and extra, my health bar and such, unless I'm in combat and hurt, because of a setting. You can have your bar up at all times, of course. 9 flasks and +2 is a lot of healing at this point in the game. A lot of healing. Look how happy I am. I'm so happy. Now I prefer to trigger this elevator again just in case I die to this thing, because it's easy to. It's easy to make one mistake and him chuck you off an edge or hit you with his boulder breath. Yes, boulder breath, you heard me. So he'll keep turning around. I try to sneak up to him while he's facing the other way. He will eventually turn, and if I've bad luck, and I did, I got lucky though. Oh no, I didn't get lucky. Drink up. See, that's the boulder breath you gotta be aware of. Now, learning this guy's moves is extremely useful for lots of reasons. Don't overcommit. If you focus fire on a leg, you can cripple him, and that makes him much easier to fight. Not totally harmless, though. Don't get the wrong impression. For example, if I hadn't been standing right next to his neck, that would have been devastating. He takes extra damage once he's fallen. So, now there's an extra piece of armor that'll appear here if you've done killed a certain enemy later. I have not killed him right now, so it's irrelevant. I have a special guest. Hello, my special guest. This is my walkthrough playthrough. You've seen most of this run, because I'm doing one that I've already done with my enormous sword. I needed that guy's soul, because his soul can be turned into not a weapon, but a ring that lets me equip more, which is extremely valuable in a build like this. Going up here, you want these two lizards, okay? Because they drop large shards, and that's another quick level. There's the Dragon Crest shield, which is a fire resist shield. It's also very valuable. Lightning Spear if you're focusing on miracles. Again, I don't recommend it. And now we get to the strength item. I showed you where the sharp gem was if you're doing agility, but this one here drops a heavy gem. So you want to lure him over there by kind of standing to the right. He'll get stuck here, and you're done. Oops, I triggered him. Doesn't matter. We're going back to the shrine now. And I should be able to infuse right away and make this way stronger because I'm focusing all on strength. That's what the heavy gem will let me do. Infuse. I don't have the last item I need. That's right. We're one special thing short. So check this out. I'm not doing this boss right away, but if I travel back to the Keep Ruins, which I should have done first, I just forgot to. From the Keep Ruins, because I lit the 3 fires, I can run through the door to the next spot. There's lots of ways to engage the enemies in this upcoming area. I'm going to just kind of mention them, but I'm not going to do most of them, because that's not my objective right now. If you grab that item, you can do so without triggering the caster up there and all the little guys that are worshipping him down below. If I go to the right here, I can avoid triggering any of them. They just don't care. But if I run through them, I can trigger them. And I can get them to fight these guys. These guys will also fight the enemies up ahead if I don't trigger them. They are very powerful if you're not used to combat, and especially if you're fighting both of them at once. I'm not saying they're like impossible to kill or anything, but I usually just try to sneak past them to avoid dealing with them this early on. Or at all. I just prefer not to. I'll go here. Light this bonfire. Now I have a quick shortcut to the boss that's past those guys. But I'm actually going to head down this path. This is yet more optional content depending on how you're running through this. You can see I hit very hard with this sword now. And it has incredible range. There's another blue lizard here. And we're in a very tight area to fight him. so be very careful. Now, you see, by just strafing around, I managed to avoid that entirely. Staggered him, got to the front, stopped moving, hit right bumper. And because of the damage I do, he's already done. But you probably will end up fighting him with less damage and or adjusting to him. Now I'm going to go through here. If you don't rush, you'll be attacked by the guy that's chasing me right now. You can sneak past, but he gives up after a little bit. Ooh, close. How heavy is this? As heavy as anything else, so it doesn't matter. Alright. There's a very dangerous knight there. There's the twin swords there if you want to grab them and didn't start with them. But most importantly, we have the Farron Coal. So I only have 2 homeward bones. I've been really using a lot of them, apparently, for this playthrough. Used one before, one here. Could slow me down later. Probably won't. But I just got coal from him. That will let me talk to Andre again and properly level this weapon up. You can't use the you can't use the heavy infusion without that coal. Or the sharp, but we're definitely going heavy. Done. And reinforce with the 2 shards I got up top. This weapon is now a kind of beast. I should have enough to level once more. Level up. And I could leave my strength here, but I'm going ridiculous, so we're going to go all the way with it. To 40 or bust. You could start focusing on health. You may actually be having trouble with that at this point, depending. But now we're going to go to the cliff underside and to the other boss I skipped. This boss will be the end of this part of the playthrough and walkthrough, because it will be the completion of a total of the first 3 bosses, visiting several areas, and basically accessing. I'm within a quick sprint to 2 more bosses. If given opportunity, I'll be back pretty quick to do more. But for now, just observe my recommendations for fighting this boss. The first time I'm really going to talk any sort of strategy. Now this weapon hits particular hard for this point in the game. Usually you'd fight him with a lot more weakness. A lot more weaknesses, rather, at your hand. It's not a bad idea to start by just clearing a little of this trash, which I can do pretty efficiently right now. This guy's the only one that's not like a one-shot. The tree will start attacking, and he can absolutely hurt his friends here. Oops, wow, that was embarrassing. Thank you, tree. If you can get him to launch at you forward with both his elbows and lean back, you can get an extra hit off on one of his weak spots, which I'm not going to get right now. I hit hard enough to one-shot the one on his ankle, and he'll lean back forward a second here, and the one there. And again, you can try to bait him into another one, which can be advantageous for the second part of the fight. Oh, that's terrible. But as soon as you break the middle set of weak spots, he goes to phase 2. Phase 2 is harder, so if you can bait him into, oh. I went the wrong way. That was lucky. He should have been able to kill me there. Oops. He's got a lot of decently hard-hitting attacks. He's not too dangerous overall. If you're patient, you can usually beat him without issue. You can also equip the fire that I got earlier onto your weapon, if your weapon allows for an infusion, to do a little more damage to him. But as soon as this hand springs out of him, he becomes way more dangerous. So I just hit him a couple times there, come around to here, and finish him off. Now again, that was a very specific strategy with a very heavy hitting weapon. You can do all the same things with a lesser hitting weapon, but you gotta go at a certain angle and direction. So, we've killed him and we got the Transposing Kiln. He is absolutely an optional boss. That kiln is extremely valuable to me at the shrine. If you take that kiln up to the guy on this chair here, which you can jump down and talk to him, I just choose to do it from up here because I'm greedy for my positioning. You give him the kiln, and I can now change the boss weapon. The boss souls I've gotten to things. The Stray Demon can be this really great ring, or the Boulder Breath if you're a Pyromancer. The tree itself can give me this Hollowed Sword, or this Spear. Vort gives me either his Great Hammer, or the Ring of the Left Eye. But for me, I'm going to sell the other souls because I don't care about those items myself, and definitely use the Stray Demon to get Havel's Ring for 5,000 souls. With that ring equipped, I should now be able to equip something. There we go. Perfect. It's totally perfect, I promise. In fact, I really like how this looks. Maybe I'll stick with it for the playthrough. It's a walkthrough anyways. Fashion souls isn't the most important thing. I should have enough for another level, but let's quickly look at the value of the souls I've obtained. I don't think it's very much. I can get 5,000 from Vort and the tree's souls, an extra 2,400 from those 3 larger souls, so that's 7,400. I'm trying to add in my head. 8,800, and then 9,000, 10,000. I'm just short of what I would want. I would want 20,000 souls to do something right now, so we're not going to do that. So instead, we're going to level. On the path to what I'm doing. I'm going for 40 strength and 20 health, plus my rings that I'm going to show you where to get to fight the Dancer. I'll just keep going through the game normal until I get to that point. And by normal, I mean I'll still show you some shortcuts and secrets. So, that's it for this one. Part 2 will begin hopefully later today. We'll see what happens. I'm a bit distracted today for a lot of reasons, so I had time for this. Hope you all enjoyed what you saw so far, and actually got some use out of it if you're a new player, and I will catch you in part 2.